Hi, welcome. It's so great to see you all here. And we also have quite a lot of people joining us online. My name is Lotta Such, and I'm your host today for this workshop on AI in mining. And we are here in Örebro, at Örebro University. But I will let Charlotte in, because I'm the node manager of the Bergslagen part of Swedish mining innovation. And Charlotte is the director of Swedish mining innovation, and she would also like to say hi to you.
So hello everyone and welcome. I see that there are some people online, and now I see you in the audience as well there. So nice to see everyone. So as Lotta so kindly introduced me, I am the program director of Swedish mining innovation. And for those of you that have never heard of us, we are a strategic innovation program, which is a joint activity and event between different funding bodies in Sweden. And our overall aim is to create opportunities for international competitiveness and sustainable solutions to different challenges we have within the mining and metal producing sector. And we do that with different activities and calls and events. And today is an example of that with the node in Bergslagen, arranging this workshop, AI in mining. So with that, if you're interested in anything else we do, I would say, please check out our website and join our newsletter. But with that, I say welcome to everyone and look forward to a nice afternoon. So the word is, the stage is all yours, Lotta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. I will introduce Francisca up on stage to tell us a little bit more on an introduction of AI in mining. And thank you. Yeah. I just say that you're a professor in information technology at Örebro University.
Thank you. And thank you that I have the chance to teach a bit. I love teaching. So I will shortly introduce into AI in mining. So first of all, what is AI? Just imagine like 70 years ago when we had the first computers came up, and then there were a lot of people, first computers, first chess programs, the first language processing programs. And the idea was, wow, we can actually every aspect of learning, every aspect of intelligence can be described in such a precise way that we can implement it, that we can simulate this intelligent behavior and can create artificial. So artificial intelligence did not just come up in the now learning, but it's actually older, much older. And from the beginning, there were basically two directions. There was a direction about we learn about intelligence by building intelligent systems. We model intelligent beings and decision making, and then we learn about what does intelligence actually mean. On the other hand, there was always an engineering approach with, okay, let's build systems that are as good or even better as humans so that we can solve problems that we could not solve before. That is the building systems with intelligent behavior. So don't worry, I will not go through that timeline. But the important thing is that this early phase of enthusiasm bursted very fast because it was discovered that there was computational complexity that was not, that people were not able to handle with the equipment that they had. Then after that first AI winter, there was a new wave of new systems where there were knowledge-based systems and the people modeled knowledge explicitly. But the problem that bursted again when they discovered that, damn, the experts that we have in our companies, we rather use them in our companies. We cannot set them free to model the knowledge bases for decision. And then during the last years, we had new algorithms. So why is there a hype of artificial intelligence now? It's because we have the computational power, we have the data with all the digitalizations and the technology. Data is available, and we have the algorithms to really create wonderful, we solve the problem now. Therefore, now, not in the 50s, not in the 70s, not in the 80s, but now. What does this mean for AI in mining? So the goal is to improve production efficiency while preventing risks or increasing safety. And AI can be used across the complete mine value chain. So AI enables to optimize. Even the traditional AI with constraint satisfaction planning, you can optimize production planning, assignment, resource uses, routing. You can use AI to predict from historic data, from images, from geotechnical monitoring, from predictive maintenance. AI enables you to automate. That's the classical autonomous vehicles that are around. Because if the vehicles can perceive in a good way and you can control them, you can automate. And even though the very rock sorting is already an AI, maybe you already use rock sorting technology. That's AI. You have perception, you have classification, AI techniques for that. And all over that, AI allows you to adapt. Once you have a system, you have intelligent solutions for adapting that system. And well, what do I tell you? AI is in mind quite present. There is this global mining guidelines group who has a working group in AI, and they already wrote a white paper in 2019 about how to do the transition to AI system. And that's, if you don't have an idea about AI, that's a very interesting thing. And they also give examples to where people use AI in mining. Let me give you, I don't have a lot of time, a small example that some of you think already before. To start the video. Usually I'm not so, my lectures are not so fancy with videos. So what you see here is, now you go from the automated vehicle that can drive through a tunnel without actually controlled. You're going to a coordinated set of multiple. Now that's the next level. You coordinate multiple autonomous vehicles. And what the principle behind that is actually some kind of dynamic geofence. Now you predict where each vehicle will go, the envelope. And then with this prediction, you know where every vehicle will go, you can identify conflicts and then can tell at the local level. So you have to wait, you can go. That's the next level. And the next level afterwards is assuming that during the next decades, something like there will be still machines breaking down, there will be still things that a human needs to go through that. Just imagine you have this highly coordinated system, and then you have a human passing through. This is adaptation. Now, this is scary adaptation, that all the automated autonomous vehicles adapt to the human going through. And that combines local safety, local coordination. So, and I think I will end with that. Here you have the autonomous vehicles of the first panel, and you have the human factors and involvement of the second panel. And my last word is basically enjoy the workshop.
Thank you, Francisca. That was a great. Let's Bengt come up on stage. And Bengt is from Örebro here in Örebro.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, he's the global manager for industrial design. And he will talk about how they work with VR.
As Lotta said, my name is Bengt Parkedal, and I'm the manager for industrial design at Örebro. And I've been asked here today to talk about how we are using virtual reality in Örebro. I think some of you probably have tried it out for gaming purposes or things like that, but we could see that VR a great usability now. And that is something I'm going to show what we have done so far. Remember, we are just in the beginning of this exciting area. We started about 6-7 years ago looking into a machine called Mobile Miner. It's a mechanical processing machine. It's 100 megawatt and it's huge. It has a huge wheel in front of taking out ore from the mine or the rock. And the customer, because it was a customer project, they really didn't understand what are we really buying. Because it was difficult to see from the CAD files, how does it look like, how big is it, and so on. So we brought that one into VR and placed our headset on them, and they realized, wow, this is huge. And I think they ordered too when they have seen it, so it was a great success in that case. And after that, we continue, and I will show you what we have done so far. When we are working with VR, we are using a game called Swedish, and that is the one that creates all the graphics that we have. We are also using a program called Swedish, which optimizes the CAD file to a manageable size. And we are making a polygon set that we also render to make it look like a real machine. And then we are using Oculus Quest, or Meta Quest, I think they're called today. It's a mobile VR headset that you can move around with. You are not limited to a certain area. So that's the basic technology. So far, we have received or realized that there are 4 different areas that we use. We started, and I will talk more about that, in marketing and sales. Then we realized that we also used in research and development for new products. Teleremote operation is something we have done quite many years now with Örebro, but now we are also introducing VR as a tool for that. And finally, training and simulations is another area. This one, the marketing part, is actually pandemic driven. This was around 2020. The marketing team in Underground Division came to us and said, we need to launch our new machine over and in Australia. We cannot do how can we progress. So we developed something we call reverse. That was actually before the metaverse, we were number 1 there. And we developed a multiplayer, meaning that we can be a lot of people at the same time in the world, and you can be wherever you are in the world. So we created down to the right Örebro Virtual Center. It's a building up in the mountain where you can walk into the different rooms and see what Örebro can offer. We can also then to the upper right, we placed machine. And this is a 2-divided mine. The first part is actually a photometric copy of the mine up in Kiruna. The other one is something in a main house. And then we took the CAD model from the Boomer M20, made it like it looks like there. We made it interactive so you can actually run the machine. You can change it, you can move the boats, you can drive it a little bit. You can see how the RCS, the recontrol system, is working, and you can also see how the sound level has become much, much better. It's important for driving. And we had a meeting with Canada, Australia, and us in Örebro at the same time, and it worked perfect. So we actually had a couple of customers come in later on and say, we would like to see your machine in VR before we sign on. So that's actually what we did. We showed them this one and then we have signed it. To the left, you can see this is how we look. We are the avatars. And that was something we gave a lot of thought at, because we do look different all over the world. Men, women, and from different cultures, things like that. So how do we do this without one being family? So we created these little guys. They are made of rock or metal or right. So you can choose what kind of material you like. I don't know why many women tend to choose gold. I don't know why. Then we saw, why can't we do this, use this when we develop our new products? So this is actually, you see it a little bit, a new product for us. We started to develop that one in VR before we even made any kind of CAD development. And the benefits from this is you can collaborate wherever you are. So we have teams from US, from China, from India, collaborate with teams here in Sweden. We can also try out a lot of different concepts. That's what we did. We created a number of concepts. For instance, for the cabin, we made 5 different concepts. And we tried on the machine to see how will they work. 4 were a bit traditional. 5, the 5th one was wild and crazy. So we tried it. Now that's the one we are doing, wild and crazy. We would never have even dared to do that if we haven't tried it. It's pretty cheap to do the changes, to do the concept tryout, compared to do a real hardware. We need a hardware prototype as well, probably just on putting everything in right the first time. So that's one of the benefits here. What we also could see is that the innovation level raised to there to try and do concepts. So the people working with the project came with a lot of new fancy, great ideas that we are actually implementing now. And they all say we would never have dared to done that if we hadn't meant to do it in VR first before we do it in VR. Teleremote, as I said, that is something we have been doing for a long time. Traditionally, you have a control station, you have a couple of screens, 2D screens. And one of the difficulties is when you would like to have a better deep vision control. This one is a Boltec. It's securing the mind, so to say, with bolts and nets like that. And that's a bit tricky to do that, and it's very tricky to do that on a distance teleremote. So what we did here is that we used the video stream that we have on the machine. We also had a high definition LiDAR that scanned mind very thoroughly. And then we also have a high-speed that actually updates digital twin of the mind in real time. And finally, we also added some AR features to help the operation. And all this is overlaid on each other and shown in the VR, the virtual reality. So in this case, you see that is actually sitting in the machine, but we have also made trials to sit here in a room and run the machine. I cannot show that thing. There are some secret features in that one. So we'll have it shown some other time. But what we also can see is that due to those features that we implemented is that you can move around in the virtual world at another vantage point. For instance, you can be standing virtually in front of the fence, see how the food is sitting. You can have also a bird's eye view with the light. It's completely safe because you're sitting in an office environment. Finally, and this is where we right now have a lot of interest, is training, of course. We can see that there are lots of interest from both internally and from our Örebro customers for onboard training. How do you onboard a new operator into a new machine? Because the machines that our customers are buying, they are in production, so it's difficult to get access to the machine. And then you can do the onboard training virtually. You can also do training for daily maintenance, vehicle maintenance, monthly maintenance, and things like that. And also for the service technicians, how do I do the service operations? You can do that training in virtual world. The one you see in the middle there is a battery swap, how we swap battery in our C14 machine. And some of our customers has tried that. They can say that the people that have done this training, they go directly and make the change without any training. Another thing that's coming more and more now is we are developing some simulators using VR and screens and things. We do everything. Progress. So that was what I had. Any questions?
Hey, good to see you. I'm wondering, the platform, VR platform that you have, do you have any way to like have built-in analytics so that you can measure how people behave and then based on that data improve the system?
That is actually in our plans. We have a strategic plan. That's exactly what you're talking about is in that plan. So today we have some, but not as much as we would like.
Cool. Well, if you're interested in collaborating, particularly if you want to couple a little bit of AI, maybe have a self-adapting system based on those analytics, just reach out to us at the university.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Okay, so our next speaker is John Swift from Örebro, but not in Örebro. He's the managing director of Örebro, Chile and Argentina. Where are you?
Thank you very much.
So mining companies all over the world have similar challenges when it comes to the need for new technology and sustainability questions. So since a couple of years, we have a memorandum of understanding between Swedish mining innovation and the Chilean mining company Örebro that you work quite a lot. Yes. So you're here to give us some international perspectives.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Firstly, thanks for the invitation. I was very fortunate to already be in Stockholm this week. I'm really happy to be here in person. Secondly, I'd like to thank Francesca. I think that I recognize that mine plan, and my colleague and I were talking. It brings a smile on my face to see that. It's a really good period project to be involved in. So as mentioned, my name is John Swift. I'm the managing director of Epiroc Chile and Argentina. I've worked all over the world with Epiroc. Started my career in the United States, went to Australia, and now in the customer center in Chile. And I was asked to talk about international perspectives with respect to Swedish innovation. And as Lotta mentioned, we do have a very strong relationship and a memorandum of understanding with Codelco. We also have several other strategic level relationships. But I wanted to talk quickly about why Swedish innovation. Because every country around the world, every developed country has innovation at their core. And in preparing for this, I thought, why is Swedish innovation different? And I came up with sort of a general statement, that is, Swedish innovation is different, certainly because of the technology, no question. Sweden and Swedish innovators and Nordic innovators have always pushed the envelope when it comes to technology. Secondly, and I would argue probably more important, is that our collaborators around the world are very interested in the values-based leadership that Swedish innovation brings. And I'll come back to that in some of the other points. But I can't overstate this point because technology can be developed anywhere in the world. But to develop technology from a values-based perspective is a very different proposal. And finally, and this ties to the last point, you see on their FICA, that's not a joke. The way that Swedish innovators solve problems is very interesting and very welcomed by the rest of the world. And so first I'd like to start with the values-based leadership. Commitment to sustainability. As we all know, the social license to operate is becoming more and more difficult to obtain and to maintain. And so our customers, the governments that we work with, the customers that work within those government frameworks, the communities within those countries that we work in, are raising the standard and demanding more of the social license to operate. Swedish innovation brings that to the table and really sets the benchmark for the world on what good looks like. So that point cannot be overstated. In addition to sustainability, commitment to value-based leadership really sets Swedish innovators apart from many other areas in the world. As I mentioned, Sweden certainly brings world-leading digital and technologies, no question, pushing the envelope in every sector of the digital and in every sector of technological advance. I think that we can see that in any industry we talk about, specifically within mining. Where I think Swedish innovation is potentially begins to differentiate itself, and that is offering efficient and collaborative work models. And again, this ties into the FICA concept. Swedish innovators are known for efficiency, but it is efficiency through a collaborative framework, not efficiency at the expense of collaboration or at the expense of conversation. And really, that becomes an iterative cycle because the open conversation and collaboration actually accelerates digital transformation and accelerates digital innovation, technological innovation. So again, this point cannot be overstated. And when we talk about things like the MOU with Codelco or some of our very exciting projects around the world, they all come back to this as the germinal point. And that is, how do Swedish innovators solve problems? And how do they approach the work in a way that is efficient and respectful of the culture and the norms in the areas that the work is being done? That brings me to the next point, local integration and adaptation. In Epiroc, we approach problem solving very close to what we in the field call the cold, very close to the problem state. Epiroc believes in putting people very close to the people closest to the problem probably have the solution or a good part of the solution. And more importantly, taking that approach gives dignity to the local norms and cultures. So no matter how elegant the solution is, if it doesn't fit the norms of the culture that you're working in, it's probably going to have a very difficult time with the uptake. Finally, and this brings me to a point that I saw this happen just last week. I was underground at Codelco, working on one of our technology projects at one of the mines. And we were talking through how we solved a recent problem. Because in technology problems, we can all agree on that. It's how you solve those problems that differentiates this group, Swedish innovators, from others. And the way those problems are solved are collaborative through a FICA type environment. We don't know what the answer is. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's talk about it. And let's come up with a mutual solution. Right? And if another problem comes up, let's have another cup of coffee, let's gather around the table, and let's solve it. I see a lot of smiles in the audience, but that is truly one of the magic points with Swedish innovation. And I think that point really needs to be underscored because a word as simple as FICA, a cultural norm as simple as FICA, when brought to another culture, is very different because it engenders communication and it engenders true problem solving rallied around the problem statement rather than egocentric problem solving. And so, you know, I asked a couple of our customers as recently as this morning when I was talking to them, because I wanted to double check myself one more time that this wasn't just my observation. And both of them that I talked to. One was the chief operations officer for a large company in Australia. Second was the COO for a large company in South America. And both of them said that these points were exactly what differentiated their work with Swedish innovation from their work with other nations. So thank you very much for the invitation and time. Are there any questions?
Is it better?
What's that?
Is it better than the rest of the world?
I don't know that it's a hard question. What I can say is that Swedish innovators solve problems, and they solve problems in a way that everybody is happy with the solution. A lot of times you can solve a problem, but it becomes a zero-sum game, or it becomes where one side of the conversation is happy and the other side feels dissatisfied. What I can tell you in my experience, and I've worked on some of Epiroc's large technology projects, when those problem statements occur, the end result is always a mutually agreeable result. And so from that perspective, I would say it is better, because I've also been involved where the problem gets solved, but everybody's not necessarily happy with it. It's a great question. Thank you.
Just one comment. Fika might be the format, but the content is, in my belief, dialogue. What would you say?
I would agree with you 100%. 100%. Fika is simply the space to have the dialogue. And really, I went back and forth on putting that as a point here because you're right. That's the format. The trick is really having the open dialogue and being courageous enough to show up to that dialogue with an open mind that there may be another alternative than the one that you bring to the conversation.
But it's a good form.
It's a great form. Thank you. Sorry.
I moved down a level.
Okay. It's got the light.
You're resonating what you're saying about both the innovative culture in Sweden and the sort of consensus-driven dialogue. One of the things that we've discussed a lot, particularly when it comes to the mining sector and moving the mining sector into sort of its next phase, is the importance of building these very diverse consortia, where you have a lot of people representing different and sometimes even conflicting interests come into that ego. And one of the challenges that we find is really getting everyone to be willing to come to the table, so that you're bringing both the mining industry, sometimes together with people who are representing special groups that represent minorities, for example, in Sweden, or those who want to protect nature, for example. And I'm wondering, I mean, you sort of reflect about the strength of the Swedish model. And my question is, do you see any sort of recipe for bringing different groups to the sort of the fika room, if you like, or to the table for discussion?
That's a great question. I don't know that there's a recipe, because it's a very dynamic environment that we're describing. So I don't know that we can say that it's a recipe. But I think that one of the essential ingredients in that recipe is humility and providing dignity to the conversation that comes from all stakeholders, regardless of where your personal position may sit. And in my experience, that's exactly what I've seen in the collaborative work with Swedish innovation. Because it strikes me that there is always an opportunity to disagree. In fact, it's encouraged, because that leads to the solution again that makes all stakeholders feel comfortable. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree.
Yeah. That's perfect. No, that's perfect.
I'm teasing you, actually. I'm just trying to reinforce your point.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not Swedish, maybe.
What's that?
But maybe you're not Swedish.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm getting more and more Swedish. Never know. No, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more. I think when we have started working more and more from home, and I think this fika has been it's not thrown out with the trash, but it's not that common anymore. You sit in front of teams, you have organized meetings. Have you seen any result of that? That maybe the Swedes are not brought to the fika table as much any longer. What would that make? What would happen from that?
It's a great question. I can tell you, when looking from an international perspective, dealing with international countries, those stakeholders want the Swedes in that conversation for a number of reasons. And there's also things that Swedish innovation can take from some of those other countries. So they need. I think it's an ongoing effort, something we have to work at, whether virtual or otherwise. We just have to be aware that there are several sides to the conversation. We need to hear them all. Good decisions and continued validation.
Thank you so much.
A great talk and really good questions. Let's have a feedback afterwards, I would say. There will be coffee taste after this. I will say hi to Peter Hestedal from Linköping University. Yes. Project manager, and you will tell us about the project called Visually.
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here. I come from Linköping University, and we are doing a lot of research there in visualization. That's our main topic, main subject to work with. I'm working at MIT with Professor Anders Ynnerman, which is also have Amy as a guest professor, which we are really happy about. And the unities and departments we're working with is those there. I'm working with immersive visualization. So the EPROC system here, we have been working with from our students' point of view, some early stage, I remember, which is really cool. Computer graphics and image processing is, among others, building up the IKEA world today. There are no photos anymore. It's image processing based on the research algorithm. I'm also a technical leader or head of InfraVis, which is a national infrastructure for data visualization. We are 4 universities, 9 in total in Sweden, are founded by Vetenskapsrådet, and with the aim to support research with state-of-the-art visualization. So I would like to invite all research projects to apply that infrastructure. We want to help with visualization. And what is unique with that infrastructure is that it's only based on human resources and competencies. So it's 160 million crowns in 5 years invested in visualization competencies. So feel free to contact me or anyone. Also, I would like to mention the place, my workplace. Sorry, it's here, the Visualization Center, which is our hub where we have the university. We have a public exhibition, a science center, we have a culture, cinema, and we have an innovation cluster, all in one block. So that's where we are doing all the visualization. We should do things together with Amy here as well. So the public space is one thing that we work a lot with and learn a lot by doing and challenge ourselves to get the small kids using these sophisticated visualization tools. We're also working with Visual Sweden, which is also aiming to be a national infrastructure for visualization and innovation hub. We're doing this hopefully together with Örebro here. We're expanding from Norrköping and Östergötland region to Småland and to other parts of Sweden. So that's also what is driving us. And those locations are shown here. That we work with. Also, I would like to mention what we carried out, what we are using with the visualization is the Wisdom infrastructure. This is Wallenberg funded with 5 centers in Washington Visualization Center. We have one in Tekniska Stockholm, Gothenburg, Malmö, and Umeå, where we can carry out spectacular visualization. And also, these are the sites. So that's what we would like to present and bring out the messages into. So a little bit more about Visual Lift. We're strengthening the small and medium-sized companies. We're also, we come from the pandemic with an assignment to strengthen the small and medium enterprise companies within the manufacturing industry. That's what we started for 2 years ago. And how we do that, I would actually spend 2 minutes on a demonstration video, which I hope.
Vi på Nordic Spice utvecklar, tillverkar och säljer då marinader, gläser, kryddor, smaksättning helt enkelt är det. Idag har vi vår fabrik och produktion i Spanien och vi flyttar hem den här nu då under hösten 2022 för att kunna vara igång 2023. Vi har ju bara haft lager, försäljning och utveckling här, men nu när vi skulle göra den här stora satsningen då och flyttade hit så ville vi göra så lite fel som möjligt om det går. Visual Lift kom vi i kontakt med genom ett annat projekt som vi gick igenom, kan man säga. Robotlyftet hette det. Det som jag saknade med Robotlyftet, det projektet där, var att jag inte fick det 3D-dimensionerat som jag ville eller visualiserat då. Och det är det jag har fått genom Visual Lift då.
Och kunna få gå in i fabriken och kunna se hur det kommer se ut i framtiden. Och så har vi fått allihopa här på företaget gått och se den här VR:en nere på MITC och det var ju jättehäftigt. Alla var lyriska efter det där.
Min roll i Visual Lift har varit att dels hålla kommunikationen med Nordic Spice, men också att få bygga upp den här 3D-modellen då.
Konkret så har vi tagit fram en nulägesbild och en morgondagsbild hur fabriken kommer i princip till att se ut när vi startar här under januari 2023. Och sen har vi faktiskt även fått visioner, alltså framtidsvisioner då. Hur kan fabriken tänka sig ut om 10 år med ny teknik och nya tankar och så. Jag tänker fullträff, alltså så jag är jättenöjd. Och jag vet om att flera av jag som tycker, jag har kunnat visa det för myndigheter, för intressenter och kunnat berätta och äntligen visat en färdig produktion i princip. Jag tror inte att vi hade varit där vi är idag utan Visual Lift.
So these kind of projects we are bringing to the small and medium enterprises in region, even with what Epiroc is doing, right? With all those things. So we're establishing this with 5 more nodes in Östra Mellansverige. In Växjö also we have one. And we are doing like pilots like this. So this was a pilot we did. We've done 20 of those pilots for different companies. And then we also do education, experience and competence activities, workshops together with companies to strengthen them. And also the hardware and we can be, we offers visualization labs, displays and visualization center project. So, and yeah, that's the note. I think I should take the stop.
Yeah, so maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions. If there are any. Otherwise, you have Peter in the second panel discussion, so you can give us even more insights, questions. Great, thank you.
I was wondering whether you have also more humans in your part. So there is also an interactive with a virtual character, and it's not just.
No, it depends on how you mean. We have the meta-humans. That might be one way of doing it, but we also have humans in the loop. So when you interact with an AI system, for example, when you connect them to the human in the loop. That's a lot of our research is depending on that. As you mentioned with the eye tracking and with analysis of humans, we are doing a lot of that. For example, find flowers and situations like that. That's really cool.
It's time for the first panel discussion. So please, Martin and Ola and Madeleine. Yes, on the stage. Yes. So we have Ola Pettersson from Örebro. You're the global manager of an information platform.
Yeah.
Yes.
The longer.
And Madeleine, you're a PhD student at the moment at Mälardalen University.
After 33 years working for ABB.
Yes.
I finally decided to do my PhD.
That's really good. And Martin Magnusson, researcher here from Örebro University. You're an associate professor at the AISS, Applied Autonomous System.
Right.
Sensor system. Is that
yes.
Correct? Yeah. Autonomous. What should we talk about?
Yeah.
I have a short intro for you that you also heard from Jessica and John and others, that the data-driven decision-making, where you use data to determine an optimal course of action, considering all relevant factors, has great opportunities to better reach sustainability goals, increase energy use, increase productivity, decreased resource demand, and not least increased safety in the mine, which is our #1 priority. How are we doing? And if we talk about this productivity and safety, do we have them like versus each other, or can we make them go hand in hand? What is driving automation?
Yeah, well, if I could start there, so I would like to argue that we don't have to have a dichotomy between those two. I think they should and probably have to go hand in hand. Think of automation works out of works and autonomous mine. You do that to drive productivity, of course, but it's hard to do it without also considering safety. I think that a very productive mine should also have some people inside, and then you have to account for safety as well, in some sense. Whether you just sort of look out the people, that's safe, of course, but then to make it more productive, you might also want to have people inside it sometimes, and then you also have to take them more actively.
Yeah, I can add on that. So I would say it's different in different mining environments, I would say. So we have automated things, there's the big pit viper, the roads on the grills and surface application service mines. And when we got rid of the operator sitting in the vehicle, the drill rig, we increased production a lot. And we could have less maintenance of the machine, so the maintainability go down, costs go down, horsepower. So that was both in that sense. But then we have other mines underground where maybe we already have tremendous ore production already. So you saw the picture of mine in Australia underground where we have struggling with automated loaders so long. There the production was really, really high with operators sitting in the cabin already. And when we came with our system, it was a big, big challenge to keep up that production rate with our autonomous vehicles. And the customer were not really happy in getting rid of the operators and increasing safety if the ore production went down. So it was still constant stunts. So when you put them to each other like that, is safety more important than ore production? Yes, to a certain extent, but not if it drops. So there could be a conflict, but not always. So.
And I think most of us driving with the country's regulations, what kind of laws you have. In Sweden, we have quite big focus on safety. But if you come to other countries, humans are not the priority. So if 5 people die in a mine, they don't even have to report it. But if one person dies in Swedish mine, then we have to report it. So yeah, I would say safety comes first in some countries.
You say in the audience, we have some miners here about thinkers. We treat human lives pretty high, I think.
It's one of the top priorities. No, I think it probably is the top priority. Again, tied back to the social license to operate. If we really just distill it down to a very cold conversation. If we are hurting people, the communities that we work in will not allow us to operate. And I wanted to dovetail on your comments a little as well, with respect to some mining environments require autonomy because of the danger level, like block caving, right? Require autonomy due to seismic events to get any production. So I think that miners are starting to realize a lot more that focus on safety probably doesn't have to exclude productivity. In fact, in some environments, it's necessary for productivity.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a great example of that. After blasting in the open pit of IT, today they use manual measurement of the gas levels before they can send down the trucks and pick up the ore. And that person drives down to the open pit spot and with such a open part of the window, mounting on a sensor. So that means that if the sensor is showing that they are catching CO or NO or NO2, very dangerous gases, that person inhales it as well.
Sure.
But what I did with my drone is that I'm flying over the whole area of the blast and catching these gases. And when I see we have a normal level, we can send down the truck. And that increases also the productivity for this mine. So we save at least 1 month by using the drone and gas.
And then you can probably go down earlier now when you have the measurements.
Yeah, because the person who is driving, he can only go on the roads, but the drone can go over the whole field where you have the blast, and then we are reading the maps of the blasting map into the drone, and that's where we get all the area how they fly autonomous.
Going one step further with the automation, and if you would have an autonomous machine, then you wouldn't have to wait for the gas to send all the gas to then lay down to anyone. It's going directly, which would be more productive and more safe, obviously.
Yeah. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was also thinking that for mining companies, there are generally no or little competition between different mining companies on like sustainability issues, on safety, environmental developments, so on. So is this something we could use more about these questions of drivers for sustainability? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to answer from the mining company perspective, but
yeah.
maybe I can elaborate a little bit. So I think mining companies struggle to hire people to recruit the future staff. And I think here we should think that, hey, we are a green company, we're a safe company, we like diversity, and we do all these good things.
Mm.
Then the mining companies would attract more people.
Mm.
And the other way around, of course, treat people well, and I think safety is number 3 of this. And they are only concerned about money and production, then they will be having really big problems to find the people. So maybe that could be one thing. What do you think? We should ask that the mining the audience. I'm just a supplier.
My experience from the mining industry is that actually the suppliers are historically behind the mining company. Go out to the mining company to say, if it's not safe, we don't mind. It's as simple as that. But the equipment companies, we started later in the industry with the safety aspects of every part of the mining cycle. If you go to directly to the Örebro, or if you go to environmental, or if you go to GoCo or anyone else, they are much further ahead. It's different take on the same question, and it's definitely a question on measuring and making sure that you have your safety class and you have all the measurements that you have, and it's measured in order to as well. So I wouldn't say that it's not a competition. I would say that the industry, yes, it's extremely far ahead when it comes to safety.
Yeah, it's so extremely important for all mining companies.
And that is also one of the reasons, and I mean, you probably know, everyone here probably knows, that when we have the monopoly of Systembolaget that we have in Sweden, but it's not Swedish, we have this monopoly when it comes to alcohol. And I think the media know that the reason why we have that is because of mining in Bergslagen. Did you know?
No.
Yeah.
No, because it was the safety aspect of mining. Way. Historical times, where the miners in Bergslagen said that we need to control our intake of liquor and alcohol because it's not safe. So they went to the government and said, can you please help us with this and make sure that we have restrictions when it comes to alcohol, and you take care of it because it's not, we can't have it in mining, which means that mining is really, as a result, we have Systembolaget in Sweden. Maybe that was the first. Maybe that was the first take.
No, never heard that. But can the mining companies sell or more expensive due to they have a higher safety level compared to their competitors?
Mining companies.
Yeah, that was kind of the question. I think if there is competition between mining companies, can you sell or more expensive?
I don't think so, but I'm also sure that you can't be in the business if you're not safe.
Okay.
So it's not.
So it's not the thing you can use.
It's not iron. That's either you're in there and you're safe, or you're not there.
It's just a prerequisite.
If you're legal, but then remember, a lot of the mines in the world today are not legal.
You've got to factor into that as well things like carbon-free steel is more popular and people want that at a premium price for that. And also, if the metals and materials are coming from safer mines as well, that's going to be premium.
You can think of the mining is the first step of the cycle cars so far down the line. Yeah.
This data-driven business that you talked about in your first business, I guess if you have a more data-driven operation with these coordinated machines and so on, Francisco spoke, for example, they at least potentially could also be more energy efficient, right? So more energy efficient or not the steel.
Yeah.
And I guess that doesn't spill over into any given prices at the moment, but maybe it could. That would make it interesting. People will want to pay more for that kind of sustainable over in a sense.
Because it's something that's on its way.
Okay. But also, if you start to go autonomous mining completely, then you don't need a circulation, you don't need ventilation. There's a lot of things that you don't need, which means that you can become more competitive because you are more stable. So it's not down to price in that sense. You have optimized cost.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Very good comment.
Very good. Yeah. And I think that goes with electrification. You do not need your oxygen for the machines.
You also look at the cost of mines that's lying by out, you see a lot of time and cost getting people in and out of mine sites through automation, through AI, through all the remote control. People would rather have a job stay at home, work remotely than have to wait multiple weeks at a time. Some people like that.
Get away from that.
So what do you see for the future around Madde? What do you think about fire detection and sensors? And how will this look in like short term, a couple of years from now, and long term?
Wow, a long time. Okay, let's start. So my research is all about how to prevent fires or any other dangerous situations to occur in the mine, especially focused on autonomous mining in the future. And if we're looking into the future, of course, we will maybe not have lots of people down there, but still fire can occur. Things can happen. So what we see is that we need a lot of information. Bring that information into some kind of context and alarm if there is something going on long before it really happens. Something is going to do. And this is what I'm collaborating a lot with Epiloc and where we put now sensors, both temperature sensors, fluid sensors, gas sensors on the machines, but also on the rock wall. And I'm also looking on now how we can put this on safety clothes and people if they are down there. But just following the gases in the mine will help us also knowing if there is something going on. For instance, hydraulic oil cable is spreading. You like to stop the machine at that moment. You don't want to spend it another time to hit the wall, and then it has ignited something, and then you have a fire, and 20 minutes later you have a total fire in the mine. So this is what we're trying to catch before, so we can actually stop the machine and send out people that can either switch the cable or do something in order to prevent the fire. And this is what we are looking at now. But in the short term, what we are doing now is in the day together with Boliden is to follow just the CO2 level. But we have found that in certain situations, we are reaching a level which is above the regulation. And that means we need to clean the area of people so they don't faint. So those small things we can do now, we can follow the gases and also levels of some kind of CO and CO2 and so that's what we're doing at the short term. But in the long term, we are in this sustainable underground mining, trying to correlate all the gas information with some kind of safety.
Yeah, sure. They all do that.
I think that was an answer. Yeah. honest.
No.
Yeah.
How do you monitor? How do you monitor? I mean, it sounds like an IoT thing. So you gather a lot of data, and how do you monitor that? Or is it just research based now, or is it like in practical use as well?
In the sustainability case, we are utilizing Epiroc's circuit system. Maybe you can say something about that.
Oh, yes, so it's an IoT system with the sensors. We already have the sensors on the machines connected, but we can also have other sensors connected to the system. So basically, harvesting all data we have, bring them to a database somewhere. And then we can start doing things and show them on maps and deep management systems. Like mobilize, yeah.
And is there a control room then, or I mean, if it's, I mean, you mentioned it's many parameters that maybe if they appear at the same time, maybe you need to correlate something, or is that like a control room so you can measure?
Yeah, we get the data now. We are trying to use our Bayans network in order to take all the inputs we can take from the different sensors and outcome some kind of actions. Go to workshop, for instance, if the tire is using too much air instead of exploding, we need to go change it or just get some more air into it. But if it's a hydraulic oil cable, maybe stop the machine directly. So it can be orders directly to the machine. And I actually think we need to have smarter machines. We can't send all data up to some kind of clerk when we are in mobile. So we need to have a smarter machine that actually take action from the information.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for the whole panel. Can you envision a place in the future where risk assessments, I'm thinking of your drone again, where risk assessments can be done by an algorithm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
How far out do you think that is?
There are many kinds of risks, right?
Right, exactly.
It's also something that we're working with in my group is also introspection, but sort of self-aware navigation, then particularly so being able to assess how good is my map, how good is my organization right now, sort of being aware of being resilient from a navigation point of view, at least. But then there are other risks as well, like access to people.
I think people need to put trust in the algorithm, I suppose. And of course, there are also regulations around it and standards that we need to follow, and they do not comply with AI algorithms. So I think there must be change before we do like that in the regulations. Yeah.
Really short question.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be really short, but I wanted to go back a little bit to what Marie mentioned about legal mining and semi-legal mining. It's a big problem, right? There's pure human labor, machinery, no regulations. Can we do anything about that? Is there anything in our control to eradicate that, to go sustainable way, go legal way, make humanity's life a little bit better? What do you think about that?
Stop buying products made in the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a consumer. Sure. I mean, what on the consumer level, we all know what to do. What can we do in research? Do that. What can we do in industry and innovation?
What's in your cell phone? Right?
Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. Maybe to visualize it in a way.
Of course.
Show to the customer. This is dirty. This is not sustainable. They treat people bad.
I think we need to continue this discussion during the next panel discussion. Okay. Yeah.
Good.
So thank you so much for now. And I will welcome Marie up to Marie is head of the communication and collaboration department here at Örebro. Thank you. Yeah.
I met every one of you before. I head of collaboration and communication at the University. And before that, I joined last year. Before that, I spent almost 20 years within Atlascoptic affairs and went to the dark side for 6 years, and then I came back to it. Good, but now I'm here, so I'll try not to talk about ST14s and the whole of the world. The labor market, guys, we are here in this slide. It's research and development and students at the university. And Sweden is quite a remarkable place when it comes to mining. Just want to know that I tried to, I'll send this to you if you want it, just tried to put together a few slides on the labor market with a perspective. Just so you know, from the Swedish perspective. The Swedish industry, not the mining industry, but the industry as such, employs 820,000 people today. It's a lot of people. Half of that is subcontractors and some suppliers to the industry. So not every, and then you can start to discuss is, would you say, what is a sub-supplier, what is not? That is, of course, a distinction. It makes up of around 20% of Swedish GDP. And about 50% refers back to the technology industry. And 90% of what is produced here is exported. So we don't keep a lot in this country. We export almost everything that we do. When it comes to the industry, that is. Okay? And also then the industry, when it comes to, if you look at the total export market, and then we talk about music industry and everything, then the industry is around 56%. So it's quite a big thing we're doing here. It's an industrial market for sure, with a lot of heritage. And one of the reasons why mining is so heavy, and one of the reasons that we have two of the biggest, or the market leaders when it comes to mine equipment for the mining industry, why we have them here, is because we have the hardest rock in the world, basically. And that comes back to the Swedish method of mining that was developed many, many, many years ago, which led into the fact that we have a company like Sandvik, with its origin. So that's why we have it here. For many years, many other companies in the industry said that the reasons why we expand is because, why we grow is because of the lack of competence. We need new competence, we need more people with more competence. And one thing that has sort of grown a little bit more in latest years is also the lack of funding. It's difficult, especially for the mining sector, when it comes to infrastructure and when it comes to those kind of questions that you need far more quicker decision processes, permit processes. And also we need infrastructure. As you know, it's a big thing if it's a brownfield, greenfield project, we need different kinds of infrastructure. So that's just a little bit of a, you know, many of these things are probably quite, it's your backyard. And also then, so why is the, now it's mixed Swedish and English, but it's energy-driven inflation. That is a lot of what we see in Sweden. And that is good to know because the mining industry and the industry where we have assembly and production requires a lot, it needs a lot of energy. And the inflation today is driven a lot by the energy, which you can see are the yellow sides here. Those sort of parts that drives it. And you can also see that with the energy, the inflation, it's really a situation that we've never seen before when it comes to how our market is changing, how this country is changing. And at the same time, which is paradox, the rate of employment goes down still. So we have a lot of people who are unemployed. We have a lot of people who are needed in the industry. So there's an even bigger gap between what we have and what we need. And at the same time, as inflation goes up, we see it's driven by energy, and we also see that
we probably see, as you see in this big article, just today, I think, yeah, it's today, yesterday, that the companies that are starting to give notice for the future now, the companies that are quite careful with their resources and with their competence, which means that the companies that had a competence gaps historically, they don't want to go into another situation. But this is something that you will face and that we will face being a part of an industry. Because this will be a bit of a clash between inflation going up, unemployment will probably go up, but we will be very careful with it. So it won't go back to 2008 and 2009. This will be something different. Exactly what it means for me. I probably won't go into this too much, but what it says is these are the groups with the lowest and the highest unemployment rates. And as always, if you're an engineer, if you have been in university, spent years, you're not. And we can also see a shift when it comes to Sweden in terms of who are these people who are unemployed today. These are quite young people sometimes. And you can also see, it says country of origin. So you can see then this is outside of Europe. You can see also where people come from. And we have a bit of a special situation, which is difficult to compare with any other country than what we have. And this will be a challenge for us. So what about mining? If we look at pure mining companies, what does that mean? We have around 10,000, but these are a bit low. They say that it's probably low. We have around 10,000 people employed in mining or mining-related companies in Sweden. So it's not a lot of people that we have. And we say that, we talk about having 50-50 men and women because it's good and it increases productivity over time. And we also see a difference between white collar and blue collar in men and women. So this is just for you to take back home if you want it. Interesting thing though, also, is that when we in the mining industry or mining related industry, when we employ more people, we always talk about engineers. And obviously those people are really important, but at the same time, if 90% of what we do in the industry goes on export, I'm not so sure that it will be the mining engineers that will make sure that we keep up with the 90% export rate. It will be something different. We need the salespeople, we need the business development people, we need the lawyers, we need the lawyers of this world to ensure that we go out and export to the different countries. So just so we don't get stuck in that part. I think this is probably my last one. So we have a situation, we don't know really what we see in front of us because of the inflation rate. And we still see that unemployment rates are going down, which is good, but that is probably, we don't know what will happen with that, right? So people are careful now. And at the same time, we have a situation where the mobility, the turnaround rate of employees in Swedish industry, and this is from 2021, is that 15% of everyone actually left the position in the industry. And then we had 14.2 starting in the industry, that's what it says. So we have a situation where we have more people leaving than coming into the industry as a whole in Sweden. And at the same time, we have this situation that we have. We have an insecurity when it comes to inflation. We have the unemployment rates that could be a challenge for us, we don't know. So this is just for you to take with you home and think about and just take in. And when this is Teknikföretagen, obviously number driven, but they have gone out and asked, so where do we find, or where do we have new investments in technology that will require new people, new technology work-related positions. And it looks like, and this is only for, I think this is for next year or 2 years. I'm not sure if 1 year or 2 years. But it's actually so that they think that we will need almost 24,000 new technology jobs to fill with people within the next 4 years. So where do we find them? And these are based on regions where they will be needed. And where are they? And where do we find them? That is a little bit on our take on how important it is for us as a university to have really good collaboration with the industry. So we can make sure, even though 25% of what you learn in the industry and at the university, you take 25% with you, something you can use right away. But still, we need to have a really, really close collaboration with everyone in the industry so we can help and make sure that we can keep 100%, that we can keep our place in the world when it comes to an industrial nation. Because these people will need to come from somewhere. I think I have time to go into this. But I will, we'll say that technology, automation engineers is the type of role where we have the highest level of demand right now in the industry. Technique for targets. Base. And then there's also trends. I know I am at 10. Trends that will influence our need of competence, and it's optimization, electrification, digitalization, sustainability, and circularity in the following. So we're talking about the right things. We're obviously doing the right things. You guys are asking for the right things. We're trying to develop people in the right areas, but it's probably so that we're not quick enough. That was my conclusion. And also a little bit short thing on how big proportion of our co-workers in the industry today that you think will need lifelong learning or competence development within the next 3 years. And you can see when it comes to the dark blue part of the big companies and the green part is smaller companies. So we can see there's a lot of competence development that will be needed as well. So just a quick report into, let's see. I only have 10 minutes. Yes, Andrea.
If I may ask,
yes.
From an education perspective, data engineers, we all must be very secure.
Yeah.
You find a job for a problem, you also see huge layoffs. You know, you can end up in bad projects, or you can have a company, 2,000 people lay off, and the market is probably changing. Demands for engineers are changing. Do you have any idea who is that future engineer? Who is that? What do we need to know? What do we need to tell the classroom to our students? What do we need to teach them?
That, exactly that. I'll give it to you. Definitely. They have also these companies, obviously, because everyone in Sweden are a member of different collaboration bodies. And they have asked exactly that question. What do you see ahead of you? But also a learning from the financial crisis is that this time it doesn't look like we have noticed it's coming in the industry to start up then. That was very industry focused. Now we have it in retail. Now we know that we need to be careful with it. At least we know that. Good. Anything else? Can I talk about Baltics?
Hi, Erik Taldén, Linköping University. Yes, we'll talk about, is it a project? Platform Twin of Norrköping.
It's a project, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
And, but I will talk a little bit about the crossing point with where AI meets visualization.
Yeah.
So I will start in a view of the future of Norrköping, the city of Norrköping. And as many cities in Sweden, Norrköping is growing. And mainly because of, for Norrköping, it's because of that new high-speed railway, Ostlänken. That's the the part in the upper part of the image here. And in the lower part is the first phase of that new development. It's called the Empower. And working with urban planning, visualization, and to visualize the future is a crucial thing, and to get the common understanding. But when you work in urban development, you cannot avoid you need to handle also the past in many ways. And in this particular site, there has been a gas plant. And that gas plant was located there because it needed to give light to the city and also for the city's factories. And working with gas and producing gas, you get these byproducts. Anyone knows, can see what this is? Yeah, right. Yeah, that's cyanide. And that's one of those pollutions that are located in this area. And to really, there is some complexity to understand how this is spreading underneath the ground. And to get an idea of that, you take drilling samples. And we take a new way to visualize this with where we combined data and do GIS analysis, but we visualize it in a way which we traditionally use to have human autopsies in a virtual way. So we use the same medical technique in visualizing how pollutions are spreading under this area. So in the end, we get this interactive way where you can virtually autopsize the earth and take a look in what's down below, what's hidden there. This helps to get a common understanding both in the environmental regulation process, to the city stakeholders, to the politicians, because this is related to huge amount of cost. So that's one way of working with visualization to get that common understanding about and underneath the ground. And the same technique has been used with georadar this is for archaeological purposes. But that's also something that's really important when you develop the city. You come in contact with archaeological sites, and that's also related to a large amount of costs. And then you need to be more precise in what areas you need to start digging and doing the examinations in. And we do that, and we have supported that workflow with visualizing and being able to explore the different layers of the earth with georadar. And you can visualize that in 3D, and combining that with the road inventories, as well as historical models. So you can get really a clear image of how these different layers relate to each other. And that's some part of digital twins. And another way is working with digital twins as a way to develop the future city. And this shows a few pictures of a new method that's been implemented in the city of Norrköping in urban planning, where you can, besides from how you have traditionally done with city planning, you have had one consultant that's been working with sound, how this area will be affected by sound or noise from the roadways. One consultant have been studying how wind will flow in the area, and a third of how the sunlight will be affected in the area. But new AI-powered tools helps us to, in real time, to analyze these different parts, different questions, and see how a new sketch will affect in the close by areas. So, and this is where I think that digital twin really shows their strength, where you can ask cross questions. And when you're creating a digital twin of a city, the first thing you mainly do is that you take part of the city's data, the data that is owned by the municipality, and that data is really high detail. It's from the overall overviews, but also to the really detailed data. The left image here shows every lamppost, and you can click on those blue spots and you can see what kind of lamp there is and when it has been exchanged and so forth. So it's a really complex data set, but it's hidden deep in the municipal world. So it's not publicly accessible. Another geodata that is common around the municipalities is images, airborne images. And when we see this picture, we see a lot of information. We see grass, we see asphalt, and we see a playground and so on. All of these materials in the city is related to a certain cost. And a certain cost for maintenance, for example, you need to plan and develop the city. You need to have a great knowledge of the city's different materials. And this can be helpful when you plan a city, how the rain will flow, because the drainage is different in grass than in hard surfaces, for example. So you need to have that understanding. And that's what we do in the project SimStart. We try to, in different ways, quantify the city, and by using deep learning and neural networks. And we take all of those images of the city and we align them so we know exactly where every pixel in every image is in the physical world. And by doing that, we get this 3D models that has a communicative possibility, but we also get the depth in every image. And that's something that really helps us when we train our neural network. So we have a stack of different images input, near infrared, through ortho photos, as well as municipal data that has been annotated by the city. And that is what we call the ground truths. So that's what we compare our network towards. So we train our network on that. And we have these, so that's what we are fine-tuning our network at the moment. So we put in all of these layers and we compare them, how we, the truth, how we perform against the truth. And so we evaluate different types of networks and see how fast they perform. And at the moment we are using ResNet 50, Deep Lab, ResNet 50. And we see that when we introduce, for example, depth in the image, in the processing, we can, with just a few steps in the training process, get a really, really good result. So that increases the speed by at least 10 times. So, and we can also see how we perform in different classes and so forth. And this method will be used to create the digital twin of Norrköping. So we can extract this and turn this into new geodata. And just an example, if you haven't enough training data, we can also produce artificial training data in different ways. So the left side of the image is the original airborne data of Norrköping, and on the right side there is the AI produced data. So we have trained a specific model of data that can artificially draw Norrköping. So this can be used, for example, for generating roundabouts. And so here's the same. The original Norrköping style roundabout is on the left side, and the AI is the right side. And, we are also looking at some other techniques in enhancing the images. This or you have seen some movies where they say zoom into that plate and enhance, make it sharp. And that's actually possible to do, and it's also relevant in training neural networks for city mapping purposes. So here, for example, take the original drone footage and run it in an AI model, and we get this really sharp image. And it enhances the structure of the image that we need when we train and do maps. So, and some part of it is really deformed. You can see, for example, some of the green is it's interesting. And hopefully, then this will be a digital twin of a city of Norrköping, which you can do deep analysis of, but you can also explore as a human. There is one picture from the Unreal Engine, digital twin in Unreal Engine where you explore us. It's a quick crash course in what we do in
I think this is really interesting, so much interesting. You're not into mining before this event, or have you?
Not that much mining, but as shown in the presentation, productions have been working.
Oh, yeah.
That's underground.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was just thinking about your reflections on automation and fire safety and other safety issues in relation to this that you presented, the digital twin. Did you get any ideas?
Yeah, definitely. That there is a problem where you need to have an effective way of collecting data and analyze it. I think that is pretty much the same for a mine and for a city. Laser scanning, for example, is one way of extracting data and used for analyzing different questions. So, and also the regulation process in the permits from the relevant authorities. Yeah. That's really close connected to the urban development process. So there is
relations. Yeah, relations. Thank you so much. So we have a final discussion between Monica and Sean. Zinkgruvan. We will need another. Yeah, thank you. One more chair. Monica is the Communication and Social Responsibility Manager, Zinkgruvan Mining, quite close to Örebro. We have Andre Isla, yes, Senior Lecturer at AISS. We have Johan Silema. You're welcome to come up on stage. Innovator in AI and technology. And we have University. How we can use digital technologies to support green transition concerns all. We've seen a lot of examples today, heard a lot of interesting things. And it's about to change all parts of society, from transport to health, building, municipal planning, to education, and not least to our industries. But how can we make this go faster, work more together, be implemented in the whole mining industry, get everyone on board? And I think we answered in the first discussion. I had a question. Can we have increased safety, productivity, and sustainability hand in hand with the help of automation, digitalization, electrifications, and what are the crucial steps to get there? I think we answered this, didn't we? It can be go hand in hand, but maybe you want to say something about this as well. Do you have any comments?
I mean, it does for our in the research that we do. I mean, it's those refugee use cases that are driving this area. So I think we need to tag along with those cases and build upon that. Because the really dangerous scenarios or risky scenarios, they're driving both the cases and the investments from the stakeholders to continue on those.
Yeah, and also that we, like the previous presenter talked about, we need to reskill. That's what we need for the future. And I think just these visual technologies will really help us doing that. So I think it's important to continue.
I'm into that area as well. We talk a lot about technology, that we have a lot of these other stuff that humans that actually should adapt to this quite fast, exponential world and technology. And I think that's where the big problems are. To move the labor, we talk about labor, to adapt to this fast future. Because people are quite used and comfort where they are, and not always interested. I mean, you're a scientist and like entrepreneurs who are really keen into the future, but those are the ones for bosses that should actually move forward. It's not always that simple. Yeah, we discussed safety and security, and the fantastic question is, we're probably good now doing what we're doing. Educating engineers and people in general, what is it using that? Well, we congratulate a lot of universities with Örebro, right? And we're doing great things. It's many vehicles, fully automated, running that. Right? So in perspective, it's 30 years and mining in outer space and mining underwater, which is great. What else can we do more in terms of sustainability? Security to us indirectly, right? But it's when it hits everyone. And here it's a little bit of a question. So, in my opinion, yeah, really great so far. Is that enough? Or if not, then where should we? I guess I didn't answer.
Yeah, and also the previous presenter like a digital twin of a city. I mean, to have a digital twin of a mind would be perfect, right? So if you could see if we change one function or one ways of working, or how does that impact other functions? I think that's a really interesting area to develop. And also when it comes to sustainability, I don't have answers to this. It's more of a challenge, but I think for me, if I look probably into the future, my vision is to have a more integrated approach to sustainability. We often get stuck in our silos, look at environmental sustainability in one way, we look at the social aspects in one way, we look at the economic sustainability practice in one way, but they're all integrated. There's so much interconnected. So how can we integrate them visually? And that would be like a great tool for decision making. And if we spend a lot of money on sustainability, which we will have to, all of us, then where do we spend it in the best way possible? And to me, I don't have the answer how that would look. It's more like a challenge, I guess, to researchers. That could be integrated those three types of sustainability more into one visualization.
I mean, but the tools and the techniques are getting there. I And it's easier than ever to create a digital mobile. Right? So, I mean, we're using this for small, medium-sized companies. Right? They're into it. So why shouldn't a mining or even more complex airports start using it? Yeah. So I think we need to start using them, but it's tricky to visualize complex data. I mean, it's even if you see a visualization, it's not easy to interpret visualization either. I mean, that's not the whole solution; it's part of the solution.
Also, something that I would like to mention, which is important for our industry, is validation. For example, if we're going to showcase our sustainability performance, it's really important that it's not only us who think this is great and this is true. We have to involve other stakeholders so that we have maybe like a set way of looking at things. Like we have to involve NGOs and maybe authorities so we can have like the same. This is that we agree on this model, because otherwise we might create something that we think, oh, this is the truth, this is great, but then we kind of launch it and no one believes it. And they, oh, this is just greenwashing or whatever. So just that validation process when it comes to sustainability is really key.
And I also think Epiroc can certainly do it, but when you monitor things and you're doing things in the virtual world, I think it's quite easy to translate that to the real world, which you should not. And if you're in a virtual world, you can show things in a whole other way. We're doing research for flight charts, for example, or the virtual flight charts. And then if you're in a virtual world, you can display things in a whole new way. So you need to think of that as well. So you're not thinking in the old way. This is actually you can use projectors, and you are researching on that as well. So you need a lot of imaginations and more, probably more girls and more of every other competence.
What it is, that since mining is, we need mining. We need metals. Yes. No type of power. But in that sense, since it's not possible to open up that many mines in the world, it's just not possible. We need to talk more about waste management and circularity. What is your take on that perspective of sustainability, waste management, circularity, staff
From like a more general stance, I mean, I think we have to do both. We have to recycle, and we have to manage our waste better, and we need more mines. We have to do everything at the same time. No.
Better when it comes to the waste management, or used to use gravel and take out of mine and back, extract all types of
Agreed. And they've started like in the North Edge with LKB, they started to do that. So I agree, we have to do all of them. No.
You new sites, looking at new sites.
No, we're doing exploration, but we're far from starting up any new sites.
Hugely.
But that's right, we have to do everything at once because the transition is happening here and now. So we don't have any time to waste.
It's also the other side of the coin, making products recyclable, having processes to recycle as well. Mining is going to be a harder business in the future, find things deeper. You know, things recyclable, you're not going to get the state or somewhere else.
Yeah. John has a question.
Question and comment, and your point was at the heart when I said that Swedish innovators need to consider the innovations that are happening around the world as well. Deep mining, for example, is happening around the world, and there are innovations happening that need to be brought to Sweden to put on the table these innovations. Right? And I didn't want to lose the gentleman's point about management of change and the people, because in all of these innovations and technologies, we have to really focus on the management of change, because that is the part that is probably the most difficult, because it encompasses the most variability. And to Marie's comment, the circularity, I'm going to take a proud moment here. Epiroc in Chile is the first company that got its tire management, circular tire management program approved by law. First company in Chile. And the only way that happened, and we're getting a lot of insight now, or a lot of folks calling us and saying, how did you do that? How did you do it so quickly? The only way that happened was because of the management of change that started with the people to change the mindset that the way of doing it yesterday is not going to be the way of the future. And so I think your point is brilliant. And in all of these innovations, whether it's automation on the surface or underground, or whether it's using virtual technologies to train our technicians, which brings me to another example, great technology, but the uptake in the management of change was the hardest part of that transition. The technology worked on day one, but the technicians accepting the technology and the management of change to adopt a new methodology to a miner's day-to-day operations. That was the part that maybe we overlooked in the first couple of instances that is so important. So thank you for that point.
You're right. People are difficult to change. Somehow, I've been working with augmented reality for quite some time now. I did my first test in Boliden in 2017. And I thought this technique was going to be really on top of everybody's table during the pandemic travel. But still, the technique is not really acceptable. We use it for doing service inspections, supporting our customers during pandemic. And I thought finally we will stop traveling, we have less to footprints and so on. People will do the short inspection service help the customer. Office at home, even though the customer is in Australia. However, today people are up traveling again and they stop utilizing virtual reality, which is very, very interesting. It takes some time, a long time to change. But I'm also thinking like this when we talk about sustainability. I mean, we need more metals, and we need it for these transitions. And I think also the key for this is to shorten the time we have production stops with inspections and maintenance. And this is one of the tests we are doing now, I think also invited in the mill, which has to be stopped for nearly a whole week in order to be inspected and to be maintenance. What we're now doing is sending down a drone, we're doing inspections on the objects. And with image recognition, it can support us also with BIOS network. To support this with actions, maintenance now, or this way to so I think in this whole look, we also need to look at how we use the technology in order to enhance the maintenance and inspection stuff in order to increase the productivity.
Yeah, and also on the same theme as yes, we need more metals, and in the end, I mean, we need to utilize the might that we have, but also need more mines. That's a fact. And also it could be, and then socialized operate is really key to have a social license. Maybe we could, it would be great to be able to visualize and mine in a more modern way than we do now to receive that social license. So I think it could be used as a very great communication tool for that purpose, you know, to have a dialogue with stakeholders regarding it. So I think also in that context, it could be very powerful. Mm-hmm.
But with stakeholders and for permitting processes.
Yes, yes.
And also to get more people thinking about working in the mining industry. Yeah. Jan, do you have a last comment on this education? How can we use like VR and other types of digital tools?
What we can use VR at the one The question is actually about change management. If you can pinpoint exact region where rather than started management, you have to take first, or if it's engineers. So what we try to do, we try to educate engineers, right? That's what we do to this most of the time. Try to educate engineers in a way that they are free to express, free to argue, and free to bring up the change up in the organization and say, oh, we've seen, or we've made this bad problem at the university. Really cool about we are creating something. Let's bring it up. I don't really know how else we can do that other than educating people, other than bringing knowledge through visualizations, through communication. What technology is there? VR, AR, and AR doesn't do that.
To me, what's key, and I think we are pretty good at this in Sweden, it's involvement from a very early phase, because the expertise is the expertise that we need to create those simulations, visualizations, and that's our employees that have that expertise. And I think there's involvement from a very early start is key. And I think the industry is pretty good at that. I'm sure we can get better at it. But I think Sweden, we are pretty good at that.
And I think as well, we shouldn't be too focused on the tool like VR and AR. Visualization is a crucial point. But I would connect to what you talked about earlier, the value-based. Also, my experience is what we need to actually move people and change management. You first need to take off a bit of the workload, because if people are stressed already from 8 to 5, they don't really have time to move themselves. And they need to find a great vision. We should have extrinsic motivation, but the best force to move people forward is intrinsic motivation. And you need time, and you need to value-based vision that align with what's important for me. Why do I wake up in the morning? What do I do? Is it an environmental issue? Is it a safety issue? Why do I need to educate myself? And if you find those moments and you have time, my experience is that the learning is much more easier. You have to create an environment where you have like passion and also comfort to move yourself, and then everything is much more easier. And then what you visualization could be one tool to actually visualize the great God that is still just a tool.
So the fika moments to get together and find the motivation. Why? So, any final question or comment? Nothing to comment? Okay. So I say thank you to all of you. It's been a great afternoon. Yeah.